Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. So please unmute yourself at your turn and let me know if you're there or not. All right, Tamara Bauman.
Here.
Jesse Benet. Kelly Brown. Jenna Burgoyne. Dan Burton.
Dan's here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Can be a little louder though. Lise Castro. Danae Colston.
Here.
Brianna Franco. Marvin Futrell.
Here.
Thank you. Christy Hamilton.
I'm here.
Marisol Tapia Hopper. Benjamin Meach.
I'm here. Hello.
Nawishimi Nightgun.
Here.
Naomi Hill Oneida. Linda Peoples. Christina Sauki.
Linda's here. Linda, we didn't hear you.
Robin Tatsuda.
Here.
Karen Taylor.
Yes.
Sherry Tillman.
Here.
Thank you. And I see Christina also joined us. So I count 13. And I believe that's quorum. So Christy, would you be willing to offer the land acknowledgement for us today?
I'd be glad to. Thank you for asking me. My name is Christy Hamilton. I am a member of the Fort Peck Assiniboine Nation and the Salish Kootenai Nation. And I am honored to be here as a member of this advisory committee for King County Regional Housing Authority. There's a lot going on today for our emergency meeting, so I'll keep this brief. One thing that's going on is that this is the first time we in the Duwamish people's land have gone almost 6 weeks without rain. And rain is very important everywhere. And so I'd like to take a moment for us to acknowledge how important the water is to the land that we're on and how life-giving it is. And that if we can maybe not do a rain dance, but just pray for rain or think about rain or call to mind rain, however you invoke your meditative spirit towards rain. We need it. All peoples do, especially all up and down the West Coast, all tribes and all peoples. And as we come together, I also, my heart is heavy for all the murdered, missing, and Indigenous women, all of the people of color and non-color that have suffered at the hands of one another in this tumultuous time. Let us come together in peace and learn how to work together. One of the ways that we're doing this as a group is we're trying to make sure that everybody has housing. That if that's not an inalienable right, then maybe we need to look at that. And the last thing is I'm looking at all of the babies that have been discovered recently in Canada and in America that were buried in mass graves and taken from their families, and how disruptive and horrible that is. And this may not be an appropriate place to bring that up, but as a Native woman, I look at all the atrocity that we foisted on one another. And this is a place for us to start healing. And we start healing by acknowledging the wrongs that were done and what we can do to make it right. And one of the things that we can do is we talk about what's wrong and we talk about how we can make it right. And so I thank you for allowing me to speak our piece and to allow the ancestors in to guide us as we learn how to create this vision that we want to carry forward for our housing advisory committee. And I just say that in everyone's name and in my land and in my language, we say punyamiyaya, which means thank you. So thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you so much.
Maria, I can see that from your comments in the chat that there's trouble with the captioning platform. Is that correct?
That is my understanding. So they've provided a link and I've sent that to Christina, and hopefully that'll help on some level. Okay, let's see, it's not working.
It appears to be working now, although slowly. There's a gap. Is that verbate captions that's also present?
That is,
Okay. Christy, is that working for you? I'm sorry, Christina?
The captioning, yeah, the captioning was working for me. I don't see it now.
I'm sorry, I meant Christina, not Christy.
Oh, Chris.
I believe that they're going to check back later. I can try to email them.
Yeah, could you? Okay.
Yes.
So just want to give a quick plan for this session of the special advisory. This is an advisory committee meeting, which is a special, meaning that it's not during our regularly scheduled times. The purpose of this meeting is to follow up on the agenda items that we were unable to attend to last time, particularly with regard to the leadership, decisions for the committee. So having called the roll, established that we have quorum, we're going to invite public comment, then we're going to go back into the discussion that we were having with regard to, the appropriate leadership structure, and that's really up to, the different ideas that were proposed. There was some draft language that was sent just to sort of frame out how the discussion went. We could, start from that or wherever you really want to go. So let us go to public comment then, Maria. Okay, is there anyone here? So we're going to open for public comment. Are there any members of the public here who would like to speak? Please raise your hand or show up, or you can, participate in the raise your hand in the chat, or just request to speak. I do not see anyone right now, but
we can leave it open for the next 10 minutes. And so at 12, it's 12:15. So
yeah, that's great.
if anybody shows up, they can speak.
Okay, so we'll leave that open. Folks can raise their hand if they would like to speak. Otherwise, we will move on to the next agenda topic, which is the leadership structure discussion and vote, the possible amendment to the committee charter regarding leadership structure. So that's just to leave open the possibility that, I think, as was discussed, there might be a decision to change that, the currently chartered structure, which is a chair and a vice chair. So
are we ready to dive in?
Yeah, I think we're ready to dive in. If anyone, I can frame it out, or anybody can dive in if, I think folks understand what we're talking about. I'm happy to just give a quick frame to it if folks would prefer that. You tell me what you want.
Does anybody need an update of why we're here today? In regards to what we'll be voting on, because we will need to be voting. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns, now's the time.
I could use a quick update if that's possible.
So based on the charter, the current leadership structure that's called for is a chair and a vice chair. And the charter directs the committee to put people into those leadership structures. But it's been discussed at various points during the advisory committee meetings that structure doesn't fit the mood or the sentiment or the sense of the hierarchical organizational structure that folks would prefer. Folks would prefer not to have something that's hierarchical. So the idea is that while the chair has a certain level of responsibility laid out in the charter, particularly, trying to keep an eye on making sure that folks attend, participate, are not disruptive, there is also a sense in which the chair's responsibility is to help structure and organize the meetings and help provide a focal point for requests for agenda topics. So sometimes agenda topics present themselves based on the calendar of events that are necessary for the continuum to pursue, for example, the NOFA. In addition, though, there may be other topics that the committee would like to address, and the chair's responsibility is to help ensure that there's an orderly meeting and a way of addressing that. Different chair structures have been proposed, like the idea of co-chairs. That was one of the structures that was put forward last time. There was a recommendation that we have co-chairs with staggered rotational periods of their term of office, so that there was an opportunity for multiple people, but that there was a leadership continuity, so that maybe the first co-chairs, one person would have a term of a year. The second person would either have a term of 6 months or 18 months, so that there was the opportunity for someone new to start as co-chair at that 6 month or 18-month period and then rotate in, so that there would always be co-chairs, but that there would be a staggered period of rotation. That was one proposal. Another proposal that did not reach the level of a motion for vote was the idea of purely rotating co-chairs. They would move every meeting. But basically the idea is that we need to lock in a leadership structure and then nominate persons for that leadership structure to the extent that that the committee is prepared to do that. I hope that summary covers it. Marvin, I see your hand.
It was a fine summary. I think the pieces that we're missing out is without co-chairs or getting somewhere today, we don't get to start our work as a committee. The chair's co-chair responsibilities will also include working with the other people appointed to work with subcommittees on things like NOVA and the other work that the committee, the authority has begun to engage in, and we are not being given that information. We're receiving it through staff or after it's done. The key here is to set our committee so that we can start engaging in the work that's in front of us. It is the continuum of care. And from my perspective, it has been an absent now committee for almost 6 months since the last continuum of care board stepped away. And having followed that group for several years, I know there's much work that is not being attended to. So love the summary. Would definitely like to get to the point where somebody moves that we choose a structure so that we can work with it. If it doesn't work for us, we can change it at a later date. But I don't think we can get by many more meetings without moving on this piece. So just don't need the long recaps. I need to let's set the structure. What do people want? Thanks.
Thanks, Marvin. Anybody else have perspectives they want to share on this?
There's work, real work.
This is Karen Taylor. I just want to make sure that we are clear. We're supposed to be voting about how we're going to proceed in the future. And I would really like a chance to be able to talk without being directed by, it seems like a systemic, historical way. I want to, I'm here because I want the community to be empowered and to be involved in making decisions that directly affect them. And I think that having direction from the old system, it feels a little abrasive to me. So I'm always going to speak out against that because it has not been fair, equitable to the community and the people that are homeless. So I just want to bring that up once again and say that the power is in the people. The power is in the community. To me, not the system. And I'm not going to uphold systemic power in this meeting or any meeting that I attend.
Thanks, Karen. Sorry, Tamara.
Yeah, and I just wanted to repeat what was said last time, in that people need to show up to these meetings, and if you can't make it, then let somebody know. Just because if we're not reaching quorum and there's an important vote, I feel like it's a dereliction of duty to not be fully engaged and communicating with other members of the team and members of the group. That's really important to me as somebody who really wants to get moving on the work as well. Just having that kind of that cross communication, so we're all on the same page, both in the meetings and outside of the meetings.
Thanks, Tamara. And on that note, to the extent that folks know their schedules and are unable to attend, please do let Maria know. If you could just send a quick email to Maria, and or if the committee nominates chairs, co-chairs, that would also be a point to let folks know. Sherry, I see your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I wanted to do, I'm down for the rotating that we decided last week, that we had talked about it. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay,
And I wanted to say too, Peter, that somebody brought it up last week about if you miss so many meetings, this or that could happen. I think that we need to get that together too, because I think it's unfair for people to hold seats and then not attend. So I agree with Tamara. There shouldn't be people sitting and holding a seat that could be open for somebody that wants to be here every time to fill. I think we need to work on that too. Maybe not today, but in the future.
Okay, so I just want to help us stay on topic. We only have less than a half hour about to get this done. And in order to do what Tamara and Karen are saying, to hold others accountable in this meeting, to change those rules, this decision has to be made today. So if everybody got the email that Ben so graciously kind of put together and some proposals, did everybody have a chance to read that? If I don't see your head nodding, I'm going to assume that you did or didn't read it, and that your silence is compliance with what we are moving forward in this discussion. So the first thing that he said on the email, if you guys want to bring it up, he sent it on Monday the 12th at about 4:42 p.m. And again, that's from Ben. So we need to have those staggered co-chairs, and I'd just like to propose what Peter said in the first thing. I'm going to take a motion to say that I would like to see the 6-month intervals and the stay of the 1-year person of that happen today, and that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, so we have a motion proposed.
Second.
Okay, Marvin, we have a motion proposed and seconded. And Shanae, I'm gonna just give a quick summary. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just read what was circulated as a proposal, and I'm gonna use the 6-month that you proposed. Okay.
Thank you so much.
So do we all vote now?
I'm sorry, I'm just going to read this. The advisory, okay, so there was one other piece that was discussed a little bit, which is that the charter currently says one of the chairs or one of the vice chair or chair shall be a provider, meaning a provider has to be one of those. And there was some discussion as to whether that made sense, whether there was a limitation that wanted to be put there. So I wanted to just flag that in case you wanted to amend that in your motion to put that limitation, drop that limitation.
I have a question. I mean, I know I haven't been here a lot lately. I have really no excuse other than I feel like it's just been so slow moving. I'm ready to get down to business like everybody else. So I am an ED in my job and we're short staffed over the holidays and crisis is going on. So I couldn't get on here sometimes just because I didn't have no choice. But I think that if Marvin and Shanae are providers or whatever the rules are supposed to be, I would nominate them as the co-chairs.
Okay, so let's do it in
I
stages.
second
Let's
that.
do a
Okay, we have to do it in stages though, you guys. We have to do it. The first order of business is if we are going to change where it says in our rule book, basically, is how I understand it, because I read all that stuff you all sent me. I went back over the trainings. I did all my research, okay? And it says that as of now, that the two people who sit at the head of the table for the time being, one of them has to be a provider, right? Like they have to be able to provide services or whatever that is to the public. Is that correct? What I'm understanding, like you have to be not only like you have to provide some type of service. Is that correct? How it's written now?
It currently states the advisory committee shall elect a chair and vice chair, only one of whom shall be a provider. The implication of that is that
provider is what?
That's defined earlier, and it basically means that you're, one of the nonprofits serving the community, providing homelessness services.
So that's the first question, you guys. The two people that we'll vote on, do we want to hold that and say that one of those people always has to be a provider of services? Or do we want to open that up and it may be like two people with just lived life experience or somebody who's not tied to an agency or a nonprofit?
I say no, that we should have them be someone with lived experience.
So one provider, one lived experience.
My hand is up. I think the reason why we got hired is because the lived experience and the excuse me, provider. So I think it should always be provider and lived experience because that just makes it fair.
Thanks, Sherry. Ben, your hand is up.
Yeah, sorry. So I just, I think first, I think that we have a seconded motion on the floor about voting on switching to the two co-chairs, and I think that we probably have to take action on that. I think it's probably fine for us to do these like sequentially, like we can vote to change to establish the rotating co-chairs, then we can vote or choose not to vote on changing the provider language, et cetera. I will just say quickly on the provider language, I was the one who proposed it, just that I think it's really unclear either way. Is it a max? Is it a minimum? What the heck, how does it define provider? And then well, what's it supposed to do? And so like, I kind of feel like we should just pick who among us, especially if we're rotating through everyone. It'll make our lives a lot easier if we don't have to figure out that rotation order in a way that also satisfies that always one of those people is a provider and one of those is not I don't know. I lean towards just getting rid of it. It doesn't, I don't really understand the point of it.
Dan, you had your hand up, and then Marvin was next after Dan.
My hand was up. My reading of the language is that it's trying to stop two providers being, I don't know how to make it louder, sorry. But my comment has been resolved, so I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Marvin?
The reason that it was installed was so that that two providers or two people who work for outside organizations didn't control the flow of what the community of care addressed, did, or was chose as priorities. Having members of lived experience limited to one, and that's a limit, is one can sit at any one time. No, can't be two, can always needs to be one. Then it allowed lived experience or public funders to take on that role when needed. As it, for us, it'll be as it rotates, but there are times when needed, a public funder will be needed to be one of our chairs to help guide us through the work that the committee will be addressing. It was a way that they figured that if it operated this way, it allowed flexibility for the leadership portion of the committee to coordinate efforts with the group. So I never found it to be a large topic to talk about. It was something they always were able to change, and different people sat in the chair at different times, over the 5 years that I watched them work. So it's always good to have lived experience sitting in one of the co-chair roles. It opens the door for the voices of those who have not been heard. The chairs aren't power positions. They are focal points where people's information comes into them and they actually can get them on an agenda and actual discussions done. It will hopefully become a beautiful piece of what it is we do.
Great.
But
So does that change, I guess, when people are both live life experience and a provider? Does that matter if they hold both of those experiences?
I want to say that I think that when he says that like that, it makes it sound like there's a power dynamic and we need somebody to hold our hand as lived experience in order to be in positions of power. And I disagree. I think that anybody can do it and we shouldn't do it the way it's been done, because the way it's been done, the homelessness rate is growing.
Thank you. Marisol, I saw your hand up earlier. Did you still have a question or a comment?
Yeah, it's just a comment, just to let you know that previously I was connected back to my phone, so the number that showed up maybe on your screen, that was me, but you couldn't hear me, so I kept talking, but you couldn't. And now my computer is finally done doing updates, so I'm able to join via Zoom.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. We'll note that in the roll. Thank you. Christy, I see your hand.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with what Marvin said as far as having one person with lived experience and one person with real-time experience as a provider on the board. I don't feel it would be hand-holding. I believe that the experience that the provider brings to the chair position would be invaluable. I don't know everything there is to know about this. I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything there is to know about this dynamic that we're working towards. So if I were elected to the board, I would certainly want a provider there to teach me what I needed to learn. So I agree with what Marvin stated. If that is one of our two items that we're voting on, one of our two motions today, that would be my two.
Okay, thanks, Christy. We have a motion. It does not specify the provider, non-provider component. It talks about the motion. The motion effectively said the advisory committee shall elect two co-chairs. General term of the co-chair shall be 1 year with staggered 6-month rotation. The initial term of one initial co-chair shall be 6 months. The other initial co-chair 1 year. And then you determine. So that there's a motion.
That is my
that's
motion.
me. That's the motion that's in front of folks right now. Sherry, you have your hand up.
No, I just was gonna say, I think actually it's been answered. I'm just ready to get it forward because I have questions on the other things. So I'm just ready to kind of not spend up the whole hour on this.
Great. Okay, so there's a motion in front of the committee. Maria, could you? It's a motion. It's been moved and seconded. Maria, can you call the roll for the vote?
Absolutely.
Could you
And
please
I'm
repeat
attempting,
the motion, please, Peter?
Okay, the advisory committee shall elect 2 co-chairs. The general term of the co-chairs shall be 1 year with staggered 6-month rotation. Therefore, the initial term of one initial co-chair shall be 6 months and the other initial co-chair 1 year.
Thank you.
okay,
Aye.
I'm, I'm going to call the roll and you can vote yea or nay when I call your name, please.
Oh, my bad.
Tamara Bauman,
Yay.
Jesse Benet, Kelly Brown, Jenna Burgoyne, Dan Burton,
Yes.
Lise Castro, Shanae Colston,
Yes.
Brianna Franco, Marvin Futrell,
Aye.
Christy Hamilton,
Yay.
Marisol Tapia Hopper,
Yay.
Benjamin Meach,
Aye.
Nawishtanmi Nightgun,
My name's pronounced Nawishtamai, but yay.
thank you, Nawishtamai,
Thank you.
Naomi Hill Oneida.
Oh, Noreen Hill?
I'm so sorry, everyone. Yes, Noreen, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Linda Peoples, Christina Sawicki,
Hold 1 second. Linda, you were muted if you voted.
okay.
Okay.
Should I mark her as an abstention?
Just present, yeah.
Christina Sawicki, Robin Tatsuda,
Yay.
Karen Taylor,
Karen, you're also muted.
Said yes.
thank you. Sherry Tillman,
Yeah, yes.
thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, the yeas have it. So we have adopted a co-chair structure. If there are perspectives on the question that came before the committee or the discussion with regard to limitations on service, whether there should be one provider and one person with lived experience, or at least one person with lived experience, or something of that nature, we would need to entertain a motion with regard to that.
I'd just like to address Christy's question in the chat before we move on.
I'm sorry. So in the case of co-chairs, they are both serving as co-chair at the same time. And how it works in a given meeting, sort of trade off. Often, a chair might take open and take the first item. People would just sort of work that out. But they are co-chairs at the same time and are both in that role at the same time. One of them would serve for 6 months, and then that seat would rotate over, and then there would be 1 year term. So the first term for one person, and you'll just figure that out by, at the time nominations occur. At that time, somebody would have half a term just so that the staggering could get started. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
It also helps just in case one co-chair can't make a given meeting. There's still someone to chair that meeting. Okay, with regard to the other question, whether folks want to have a limit of, service providers or a limit of persons with lived experience, that's an open question. I leave that to you. Christy, though, your hand is up.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a motion that we elect the service provider and a lived experience provider. But if you want to talk about the term limits, then I will lower my hand.
I guess my question still stands. If, like, for myself, and that's why I'm asking, is because I'm a provider and lived life experience. So what does that matter for either position that you would be co-chairing in, or no?
I think you'd serve both spot. I mean, you'd check both boxes, then you
Okay.
could serve either seat if that,
Great.
right, you're a sort of both.
Fabulous. Thank you.
I mean, there conceivably are
Double
people
winner,
who are
Karen.
neither.
Okay.
So did I
Karen,
hear
you'll
that
be a
was a
double
motion?
winner.
Hold on, Karen had her hand up.
What is she saying? Christy, what are you saying to me?
Karen,
Why
I said you're a double
Why
winner.
couldn't they both serve?
You're a double winner.
Yeah, there's a lot of them because I'm both myself.
Because
Right, but I don't understand, Ben. You said, but if there were two people who were both, they couldn't both
sure.
serve.
So that was meant as a question, but that's what I think, right? Because if there's a limit on one provider, then if both people are
Our
that would be two
providers are both
providers.
people are live life experience, then they still again would hold both seats. That's kind of my question. Because they're checking off both boxes. So could me and Karen do it, or you know what I'm saying? Me and Cher, whoever, right? Just to live life experience people. And because we're providers, are we able, to hold both of those seats? That's what I'm asking exactly.
It seemed like you would pick one. Like if you're both and you have a lived experience person, and then if you're both, you just say, okay, I'm gonna be a provider because of you have a lived experience.
Right, you
Or
would just
vice
use that
versa.
lens in that position. Is that what you're saying, Sherry?
Yeah.
So that's how I also think it should work. I think the way that it's written is read both as a minimum on providers, but also as a cap on providers, that there can only be one provider co-chair.
That
Okay,
is
so that's what we don't
the-
want, right? Because some of us have both. So, I mean, then that person would have to just be, like Sherry said, choose that role, right? I'm going to be in the provider role, and Sherry is going to be in the live life experience, or vice versa. I'm just using that as an example, Sherry. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but like we would just choose at that time, right, amongst the two of us.
Could I ask the discussion to just pause for a second? Karen's had her hand up for quite a while now.
My bad.
No, I just want to move forward with the vote. I nominate
Make a
Sherry
motion.
Goldston. And Marvin and Sherry. How about that?
Christy also has her hand up.
Yes, I wanted to address the issue of having one person in a lived experience coalition and one person with provider experience. It's about perspective. If you've got two people with lived experience as co-chairs or two people with provider experience, you're not going to have a more rounded perspective. So I believe that was the intent of the founder's mission when they created the charter.
Yes, thank you. I think, like I said, that if that was for me, that I just have to choose one lens or the other, right? Am I putting my perspective in and choosing that I'm going to hold this co-chair seat and then this provider lens? And then, or am I going to choose to be the consumer lens, right? The live life experience lens, and just hold up my own values, ethics, and integrity, and hope that the committee would trust that that's always going to be the lens I'm going to use during my duration of co-chair.
Absolutely.
All right. Would someone like to propose a motion on this?
I so move.
Can you
second.
phrase it for us
Second.
more? Can you phrase out the motion, Marvin? So we need a.
What part of it was unclear?
The advisory committee shall elect two co-chairs, one whom shall be a provider and one with lived life experience.
I second.
Not the way that was. Go ahead. Go ahead. That'll work for me. It'll work for now.
Okay.
Are we good?
So everybody heard the motion. Maria, can you call the vote on that?
Yes. Tamara Bauman,
Yes.
Jesse Benet, Kelly Brown, Jenna Burgoyne, Dan Burton,
Yes.
Lise Castro, Janae Colston,
Yes.
Brianna Franco, excuse me. Marvin Futrell,
I made the motion.
Christy Hamilton,
Yay.
Marisol Tapia Hopper,
Yay.
Benjamin Mish,
Aye.
Nawishtamai Nightgun,
Yay.
thank you. Noreen Hill Oneida,
Yay.
Linda Peoples, Christina Sakwicki, Robin Tetsuda,
Yay.
Karen Taylor,
Abstain.
Sherry Tillman,
Yay.
Okay, thank you. The motion carries. Excellent. So we have a structure. We have a set of principles with regard to who should occupy those seats. I think at this point we would want to move on to the next item, which would be nominations for those
Well,
positions.
Peter, wait, I want to hear what Karen has to say on what she did disagree with. That was in the chat, but we were in the middle of the vote. And so I do want to give her a chance to say, and somebody else asked for the same. So I'd just like to have the opportunity to hear what she wanted to say.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
When I hear the word service provider, I automatically think systemic. So if you are a service provider, Shanae, then that makes me feel good. If Marvin's a service provider, that makes me feel good. If Sherry's a service provider, that makes me feel good. I was thinking that it would have to be somebody from within the county or the city or something like that. That is why I abstain.
Thank you, Karen. No, so that is like, for instance, with me, I'm a provider of the services to single adults. That's like my career. That's my job. Like I'm that provider, right? I provide all those services, connect them, and case manage them. Where at the same time, you also know that I hold that dual lens of having that lived life experience and also being a consumer and having to consume of those same services that I provide to others.
Thanks, Shanae. Ben, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So hopefully we can do this quickly. I had I realized that I had sent the proposal in the wrong way, and I apologize. I guess I should have sent that through staff to send out, but I had just 2 other quick housekeeping pieces that I'm just gonna let's just move. I'll just move on to vote on one and then the other, and then maybe we can just do it without discussion, or we'll see. So first, I would like to move to change the definition of quorum from 50% plus 1 to more than half of the total seated members.
Second.
Cool. Can we have a vote, please?
Just for clarification,
Wait.
that means that we only need half of us to be here to make a vote instead of 12 of us. Is that correct?
We would need more than half. So
Okay.
it would be.
I'm sorry, Ben, this is not an item that was on the agenda. So
we can't vote on it then because it's a special meeting.
Yeah, I hear you, and I don't want to gatekeep. I hear that folks don't like those kind of constraints, but if we bring up new items to vote on in a meeting that have not been agendized and noticed to the public, then folks who might have had other ideas are just not given an opportunity to show up and participate. So Ben, can I ask with regard to the definition of quorum, I'm happy to bring that to a future meeting, but can we just stage that, okay?
Okay, I guess, then it would be helpful for us to have some guidance on how we're supposed to do these things, because I had sent these.
Oh, it's right
Okay,
here
so that's
on the
fine.
OPMA website, y'all. It says, what we can do, however, at a special meeting, you can amend the agenda to discuss something not on the original agenda and go into an executive or closed session if appropriate to discuss something not on the original agenda.
Somebody's working. Yes.
Christina has a comment.
Christina, so did she leave? She left.
Well, what does she mean? Well, that's not helpful if you just say that and then you leave.
The closed, I think the question is really with regard to the effectiveness of the closed captioning. I think the closed captioning, I've been switching back and forth to just look at it. And when I've looked at it, it has appeared to be operating, but I can see now that it's frozen.
And I've been trying to type the notes to her as much as I could to let her know and ask if she wanted to vote, and there's not been a response.
Yeah, she hasn't been voting because she can't hear what's going on. She voted her name. She never voted on the last two issues. Or the last two items, she never voted.
Well, that sucks, y'all. We got to fix that because we can't have people excluded, especially our own board members. And so I don't know if we need to get an interpreter, like whatever we need to do, but we need to fix that immediately.
Yeah, that's what the closed captioning is supposed to do, but it, I guess it running in a separate window, didn't work for her. Christy, your hand is.
Yes, I'd just like to remind people, in order to keep the meeting functioning and going smoothly and to not be rude or speak out of turn, could you please remember to raise your hand in the chat function if you wish to speak? That just butting in and making comments is very intrusive. Thank you.
Thanks, Christy. Okay, so Ben, can I take your proposal as an amendment to the agenda for discussion? But one thing that if we could get to the agenda with regard to a vote for a nomination for the positions that you selected the position. So we really like to fill those. Marvin?
Yes, if we fill the chairs, we start setting our own agendas. The chairs can accept requests from the group and work with staff to make sure that the agenda reflects the work that we want to work on each and every time we meet. And if we need to have extra sessions to play catch up, which will liably be necessary. So yes, I like the way Peter was going. Let's fill the positions and then let's get the work started. Because once we do, we will never have anyone else set our agendas. We'll be working with our staff to create agendas that reflect the work that we do.
Okay, so are there any nominations? Anyone moved nominations?
Sinead Colston.
Second.
Marvin, your hand is still up. Did you have a?
I didn't know how to take it down. Give me a second.
Okay. So, sorry, Christy, your hand is up.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Marvin for one of the co-chair positions.
Second.
Okay, that's been nominated and seconded. Maria, can you call the quick roll on one co-chair as Marvin? Marvin, I'm going to assume you're going to not decline that.
I'll take it.
Okay. Just wanted to give you the option, sir. Okay, Maria, could you call the roll on that?
I don't think we get the work if we don't get two chairs. I can step down.
Yes, Tamara Bauman,
Aye.
Jesse Benet, Kelly Brown, Jenna Burgoyne, Dan Burton,
Yes.
Lise Castro, Shanae Colston,
Yay.
Brianna Franco, Marvin Futrell,
Nay.
Christy Hamilton,
So,
Yay.
Marisol Tapia Hopper,
Yay.
Benjamin Mish,
Aye.
Nawishtamai Nightgun,
Yay.
Noreen Hill Oneida,
Yay.
Linda Peoples, Christina Sakwicki, Robin Tatsuda,
Yay.
Karen Taylor, Sherry Tillman,
Yay.
Okay, that motion carried. Marvin is one co-chair. Can we get a nomination for a second for the other co-chair?
I'll second Shanae.
okay.
call for a vote.
I'll go ahead and roll again. Tamara Bauman,
Aye.
Jesse Benet, Kelly Brown, Jenna Burgoyne, Dan Burton,
Yes.
Lise Castro, Shanae Colston, Brianna Franco,
Janae, you were muted.
Marvin Futrell,
Aye.
Christy Hamilton,
Abstain.
Marisol Tapia Hopper,
Yay.
Benjamin Mish,
Aye. Yay.
Nawishtamai Nightgun,
Yay.
Noreen Hill Oneida,
Yay.
Linda Peoples, Christina Sawicki,
I don't know what I'm supposed to be voting on.
You were nominated as a co-chair.
Thank you.
Do you accept? Right.
Robin Tatsuda,
Yay.
Karen Taylor,
Nominated her as the chair, but yeah.
Sherry Tillman.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay, that motion also carries. So we need to identify which of these two would be the 6 month and which of them would be the 1 year.
I choose the 6 month.
Second that.
Okay. Let's just do this by voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Very good. We have a leadership structure. We have co-chairs, and we are at time. greatly appreciate this, and I will work with the co-chairs on establishing agendas for the next meeting. If you have items that you'd like to forward as discussion or amendments, including, for example, the one that you just proposed, Ben, can you forward those to staff and to co-chairs? And we will see you next time. Thanks so much. Good job.